Okay, well, Rutgers continues to win the offseason, picking up a couple more recruits, one out of the transfer portal and a 2026 commit. Let's get to it. So Rutgers having some more success, winning the offseason. We're doing pretty well off the field, on the field, or on the court for that matter, a whole nother story. Nonetheless, we get a transfer portal pickup. Before this pickup of Cam Miller, cornerback out of Penn State. I think we were ranked, I want to say 44th by 247 Sports. And we pick up a 6-foot, 183-pound corner out of Penn State who had 27 tackles, 5 pass breakups in 16 games this season, including 4 starts. He's been a starter over his 3 years. He totals had 56 tackles, 8 for loss, 4 sacks, an interception, and 9 pass deflections. We actually recruited Miller back in 2022 out of high school. He was a 4-star recruit at a Trinity Christian Academy in Jacksonville, Florida. We know Coach has a lot of Florida contacts, so our market penetration into Florida is always pretty good. Nonetheless, we pick up Miller out of Penn State, who, after losing Robert Longerbeam and Eric Rogers, the addition of Miller gives us a legitimate starting corner. This is not going to be like a rotational guy, but it does give us a rotation where whoever the next DC is will have opportunities to put guys in different spots. We have Bo Mascow returning, Al-Sadi Salam, Hollywood Henderson, safety Kaj Sanders is returning, so that secondary is going to be pretty solid. The new DC will have opportunities to mix and match the way he's fit, depending on whatever scheme they decide to run. But nonetheless, Miller was a guy that he was viewed as at Penn State as kind of a defensive back who can play some safety as well as nickel and cornerback, and he kind of just saw himself, as a corner. And with Rutgers, with his starting experience and the amount of reps he's gotten, this is a really solid get. Yes, he might be remembered as the guy that fell down on that play against Notre Dame for a wide open touchdown that gave Notre Dame the win. Nonetheless, hopefully that doesn't replay itself if he ever is in the circumstance where he finds himself getting beat. Hopefully he doesn't slip and fall again. Nonetheless, our defense last year was better against the pass than the run. We were susceptible to getting gashed in the running game. Our pass defense was a little better, and he gives us a solid rotation, and it's kind of looking like we might not have to be as worried about the defense, at least on the back end, as we are heading into this offseason and after the poor performance of the defense overall. But how these guys are deployed is going to be up to the new DC, which is it's all quiet on the Western Front. I have no idea what's going on with defensive coordinators. It's kind of strange. This is kind of late in the game for us. I'm not sure what Coach Schiano is conjuring up. Joe Harris-Simiak now up at UMass. And nonetheless, we have a lot of new additions that we're going to have to piece together into a solid defense. With a schedule next year, that's going to be much more difficult. But in addition to Miller, we got Ohio defensive end Bradley Weaver. We got the big dog was Eric O'Neill out of James Madison, South Florida, Doug Blue Eli. Another JMU transfer tackle, Daryl Ngoe, UNLV safety, Jet Elad. So we have some really solid pieces that have resulted in a pretty good rating in a transfer portal rating. we'll see how this goes. And we also got another, or I should say, a 2026 wide receiver commit. And I love the direction that we're going. We get a 3-star wide receiver out of Pennsylvania, the number 1 rated receiver in Pennsylvania, and I believe the number 13th overall recruit, and that's 6'2", 195-pound Elias Coke. It's strange watching how our wide receiver, we're becoming wide receiver U now, which is a big change of pace for us over the past few years, especially in the Chris Ash era. You know, we didn't have, our offensive line wasn't good, and our quarterback play was not great, and we had to get rid of the ball quickly to a receiving core that really couldn't create space, get free underneath, or beat guys downfield. We now have a tall, lanky wide receiver room. I mean, I kind of like where we're going. If I remember correctly, some of Minnesota's wide receiver room a few years ago was a very tall, lanky group, and Kirk Shiraka might have some influence in the direction that we're going with wide receivers right now. So Coke joins, we're kind of forgetting about 4-star Dazier Carter. So I absolutely love that we're getting these big athletic guys who could high point the ball, but I kind of like having those smaller, although not real small, but smaller, speedier, twitchier guys that once they get into space underneath can turn short gains into big plays. I just love that, because even if the play breaks down and it's an outlet pass, or you hit a guy underneath and he takes off for 40, 50 yards downfield, I just love that. It gives you an extra dimension. Now, he's despite being the number 1 receiver and, number 13 player in Pennsylvania, he's only a 3-star recruit. And I was kind of wondering about that. Rich and Mike from the Night Report said that he ran a 4.840. So in my mind, the reason why he's probably 3-star, not a 4-star plus, is that 40 time. If you're a 4.4, 4.5 guy, and that size with that productivity, you're absolutely a 4-star guy. And so they talk about the potential where he can be a hybrid tight end wide receiver. I think I'm kind of done with that type of player. The 4.8 doesn't bother me. There was another guy who was a 4.8 40 guy in college, nonetheless, not even high school, but in college, and his name was Jerry Rice. So as long as Elias is productive, makes the catch, high points the ball, more importantly, doesn't have a lot of drops, I kind of like this. I think he's going to be a fit in our wide receiver room. Apparently Coach Yano and Dave Brock made him a priority and really, really went after him. He, I think Mike and Richie said he visited Penn State like 11 times. And he did have Miami, Michigan, and Notre Dame as finalists. So we're no longer just going after, Boston College guys or FCS guys. We talked about this in the past. How we're going in the backyards of the big guys, and that's a really good sign. Apparently our NIL is a little better than we might have thought it was, which is helping us land some guys. And NIL, I don't really care about it. This is amateur sports. Universities are nonprofit entities. They don't have to report their profits to shareholders. So this whole getting paid millions of dollars doesn't sit right with me. I'm turning into get off my lawn guy at my age. Nonetheless, NIL does have an impact. It's the reality of the world today. Elias finished his junior season 968 receiving yards, 10 touchdowns on 50 catches. And he if you add by the time he gets to college and he's 6'3", he's over 200 pounds, and you pair him with KJ Duff, hopefully they're still around, KJ Duff and Ian Strong, boy, that's a pretty good group. But you have to translate on the field. I'm tired of winning the offseason, whether it's basketball or football, and not being able to execute on the field. But there was some interesting story that I saw on MSN, an interesting story and some quotes via Scarlet Nation, and it talks about Rutgers' increased ability to be able to recruit areas that they haven't been had successful in the past. And, some quotes from the story. Just from dealing with Rutgers, their staff does a great job of coming down, building relationships, making the kids feel important, and making them feel like they're able to come up to Jersey and play ball. They do a really good job with the whole recruiting process. And that's North Gwinnett High School head coach Eric Godfrey to the Scarlet Nations. They go on to say, our recruiting cycle now, we're going into places like Maryland and Georgia, places we really haven't gone to in the past. And we're expanding the tree branches. We're branching out, and we're getting into areas that if we're going to compete as a top 10 program, you have to be a national, you have to recruit nationally. And we've talked about the difficulties of recruiting in New Jersey. Won't get into that right now. Nonetheless, congratulations on another good ad, winning the offseason. Has to translate on the field. Yes, we know next year that we're going to have a much more difficult schedule, including non-conference. We've talked about Miami of Ohio, and Ohio, 11-3 and 9-4, 9-5 teams. Not exactly Wagner. That's going to be, they might provide some surprises as well. Nonetheless, good job recruiting. Let's hope we can put it all together on the field. One of the best programs at Rutgers that gets virtually no love is Rutgers Wrestling. Boy, I have to tell you, they came this close. Last Sunday came a takedown and a few seconds away from defeating number 4 Ohio State. It was a 17-15 loss. And it kind of reminded me of, when you think about these analogies that I make, Rutgers basketball the past few years when we would defend and play gritty, determined, in-your-face defensive basketball. We'd struggle to make a shot, but it would be a nip-and-tuck grind virtually every game that kind of worked for us. This wrestling match turned out that way. Ohio State's Nick Feldman beat Yaroslav Slavikowski on a takedown with 24 seconds remaining to pull off a 4-1 win and a 17-15 win for Ohio State. Boy, that's really close for comfort. That could have been the benchmark win to propel us forward. Nonetheless, we fall short. We're still around number 16, 9-3, 1-1, and the Big Ten. Ohio State's 10-0, 2-0 in conference. They are now 11-0-1 against us, and it kind of reminds me of football where, we can beat who we're supposed to beat, but once we get into the Big Ten, especially the top half, it's really difficult. And I'm just hoping one of these days that we break through. There was a lot of really close bouts. It was nip and tuck. It was a grind. Ohio State had 1-point wins at 149, 57, and 74, including the late takedown by Feldman. We won 1-point bouts at 33, 65, 197, and 2-point bout at 184. But we've now lost 21 straight matches, the top 10 teams dating back 5 or 6 years. So, like football, we got to get over that hump. Now, I don't think that there's a lot of debate about, all right, who's the big dog in NCAA football right now in football? Is it, SEC is losing some juice, and is it now the Big Ten? But when it comes to wrestling, there's no doubt who the top conference is, and it's not even close. The Big Ten is by far is the dominating conference in NCAA wrestling. So we have some work to do there. But it's interesting because at 141, Jolie Oliveri, who did not weigh in, cost us a technical fall. They had the defending champion, Jesse Mendez, and had Oliveri been able to be in there and not lose by technical fall, it's a Rutgers. It's potentially and likely a Rutgers win. So it's it's like when Dylan or Ace is out and you're in the game and then you lose it in the end. It's kind of our luck when it comes to injuries or players or wrestlers not being available. Nonetheless, Poznansky had a big win, pulled out a 5-4 win against Seth Shoemate, and it was a 2-point win. It was a win that wasn't by 1 point. And he had a late takedown, and which kind of silenced the crowd because now shit's getting real. And Ohio State is on the verge of losing to Rutgers. And let's face it, doesn't matter what sport it is. For some reason, nobody wants to lose to Rutgers. There's this perception that we're just, we're the doormats of Division I athletics. So, it got real quiet there, but as it was, we couldn't pull it out in the end. But there were some positives. Shane Cartagena-Walsh continues to do pretty well at 184. I think he's 16-5 and has 6 ranked wins. That's really good. Really good stuff. We got some wins early from Dean Peterson, Dylan Shaver at 125 and 133. So, at 149, Ohio State's Dylan D'Amelio and Andrew Clark was another really close battle. D'Amelio wins 2-1 with an escape 9 seconds into the first tiebreaker, and then just wound up riding Clark. But boy, we're getting so close, and but yet so far we'll see how the rest of the matches shake out. Would like to see us get inside the top 15 and finish between 10 and 15 instead of always starting off well and falling back to the 15 to 20 range. Nonetheless, Rutgers wrestling making things close. Congratulations to Rutgers football for having more success winning the offseason. Everybody, enjoy the rest of your weekend. Going to get some snow today, especially in North Jersey. Enjoy the rest of your weekend. Have a great week, and we'll see you